Hi, this is Brad, and the title of this top grading tips article is Chat with a Top Grader. So this is a much reduced transcript of a 1-hour chat with Eric Magnussen, Vice President Talent for Cancer Treatment Centers of America. I'm guessing this is about a 10-minute recording. Every person in business will find this transcript of interest because over 1,000 cancer treatment centers in the United States, Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and I'll shorten that to CTCA. CTCA is #1 in patient satisfaction with 96% approval. CTCA is the perfect example of a company truly putting its customers first and top grading so that their customers are served by all, A players. Eric Magnussen has an interesting title, Vice President of Talent for CTCA. The company has done a super job of serving their customers who are their patients. If you walk into any CTCA hospital, every single person is positive and upbeat, and they empower the patients unbelievably. It works. In the sense, patients will tell you and others, their family, their friends, that they'll recommend CTCA, and they do. I met Dick Stevenson, the founder, probably 10, maybe 12 years ago, and they've been involved in top grading ever since. The quarterback of top grading is Eric, so let me pass the baton to you, Eric, and if you would, tell the top grading story and fill in anything you'd like to say about CTCA. Okay, I did not ask Eric to record anything, so this is just the Brad voice pretending I'm Eric. Thank you, Brad. CTCA was founded in 1988 by Richard Stevenson, as you said. Well, he lost his mom to cancer. And as Brad indicated, Dick and his family went through a really horrible experience. And if any of you might have had a family member or friend who has fought cancer, you know personally what the experience can be like. Unfortunately, Dick's mom passed away, and he, at the end of that journey, felt like there had to be a better way for hospitals to rally around the patient to deliver a whole person care experience. And to Dick's experience and his mom's, he felt like some treatment options were just simply not offered her. She valued such things as nutritional support, spiritual care, herbal medicine. These things were just not offered. They weren't available, and after she passed, Dick started to do a lot of research into cancer care, and he saw a huge opportunity to create a hospital that put the patient at the center of the entire model. So he founded Cancer Treatment Centers of America, a little town called Zion, Illinois, which is north of Chicago. And since then, we've expanded to a 5-hospital system with hospitals in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Phoenix, Arizona, and Newman, Georgia, which is just outside of Atlanta. At CTCA, we really have a huge focus on talent, and that comes directly from our chairman, from Richard Stevenson. It's also reinforced by our president and CEO, Steve Bonner, who is a tremendous advocate for talent. But the basic premise is, we think, quite clear. Anyone can build a beautiful hospital. Anyone has the type of funding available can invest in the latest and greatest technology, but it's the people who create the care experience. At CTCA, we call the experience we deliver the mother standard of care. We want to treat every single patient the way we'd want our own mother or brother, father, or loved one to be treated. And in order to do that, we ensure that we have healthy, loyal, fully performing employees whom we call stakeholders in every single role in the organization. So our stakeholders create and deliver the mother standard of care to our patients extremely well. That's what distinguishes CTCA, and that's why we're so committed to building a talent-based culture. As Brad alluded, Dick Stevenson and Steve Bonner were both looking for tools that CTCA could use to enhance the way we select talent and discovered the top grading methodology and Brad. And for us, it's been a tool we find very, very useful. We initially used top grading at the executive levels of the organization to assess people. And since then, we've expanded it. We've done top grading training with all the executive members of the organization so they're familiar with the methodology and understand how to use it when they're doing their assessments. We have pockets, and we're certainly not perfect, and we've not fully rolled top grading out across the entire organization. Okay? But we're doing top grading in lower levels, such as the nursing population, specifically in Tulsa. and we're using top grading methodology to assist candidates for those positions. And I can tell you that we believe it works. The tools that Brad and his team have created are very, very helpful. We really love the latest innovation with the online career history form and the top grading snapshot that allows you to get a one-page visual of a person's entire career progression and why they've stayed and why they've left certain jobs. That's just so valuable to us. But I think evidence of the fact that it works is just looking across CTCA overall. Our turnover rate is low compared to our competitors. We run a 10% turnover rate, and at the executive level, it's far less than 10%. So to us, that indicates that we're finding A players, and then once they're engaged in the culture, we're keeping them engaged because the thorough assessment, and we've done everything possible to identify someone who's going to enter and make a growing contribution to the organization. Brad, here's me, Brad, saying, patient care is obviously important to every employee. No one is role-playing saying, thank you for using CTCA the way you hear, thank you for shopping at Kmart. Never, never. It's all from the heart. And you, Eric, and the team has done a wonderful job of using top grading to extract not just the skills, but also the values from candidates, to pick those whose values are consonant with the company. And then Eric responded, I think probably in any organization, the challenge is alignment and making sure that from the executive level of the organization on down, everyone understands why it makes so much sense to invest the amount of time it takes to conduct a top grading interview. That's a challenge within CTCA because we're a very patient-centered, patient-focused organization. And at any time people are away from the patient, they ask themselves, well, shouldn't we be investing that time to spend more time with patients? I think for us, that's been the biggest challenge. It's really helping people understand the value of investing 4 or 5 hours to conduct a top grading interview. It's worth that time because we serve patients better. We found it helpful as we took people through the training process. It's one thing to talk about top grading and get it on an academic level. It's a very different thing to experience top grading for yourself firsthand. And so we found it effective to take our executive teams through the top grading training process because during that process you actually conduct a full top grading interview. That way you discover for yourself the power of the interview and the information that it will uncover. I asked, Eric, what's the cost of mishiring a nurse? Eric said, at least 10 times their base salary. I asked, how long does it take for top grading to take hold in a company and see measurable productivity gains? Eric responded, well, I think it's a journey, really. Top grading was introduced 12 years ago, and I think it takes a leader at the top who consistently communicates the importance of talent to the organization and is willing to reinforce that by demonstrating they'll conduct these top grading interviews themselves so that they can be role models. Once we conducted those top grading workshops across CTCA, the managers trained started using top grading methods right away. Then I say to Eric, someone from Dallas asked, what's the best way to sell the idea of top grading in an organization that hired based on urgent need instead of waiting for an A-player candidate for the job? Tough question, Eric. We're desperate, the person is saying. We have to have a sales rep for this region, or some of our customers are going to say they're going to go to our competitors. And we do have some B-player candidates. Maybe we're not going to hire C's, but what should we do? Should we hire a B? Eric responded, if you bring someone into your culture who is not aligned with the way the organization thinks, or is not aligned with your company's mission or vision for a purpose-driven company like CTCA, that is poisonous. So we're always quick to say, I'm feeling the pain right now because I don't have someone in this role, but I'm willing to hold out for the right talent, for the A player, because we recognize that in our business, we don't get any do-overs. Then I say to Eric, Eric, someone asked, what do you do at cancer treatment centers prior to the top grading interview? Eric responded, we conduct an initial screening interview that would involve a telephone call. Then we bring the person in for face-to-face interviews with the hiring manager, and if they pass that screening interview, we might have another assessment tool to assess that person. This gives us a read of their talent, and then we apply the top grading interview as part of the final round of group interviews that someone completes. So we do a top grading interview coupled with face-to-face meetings with the hiring manager and other managers that are part of the group for the senior level positions that will involve everyone, including, frankly, the CEO of the hospital or the entire organization, cancer treatment centers. So Brad says and asks, Eric, what are some of the best ways to integrate top grading into performance management? Eric responded, we find helpful is when you focus on those competencies, identifying competencies you can tie into performance. At CTCA, we've defined a set of performance standards for each level of the organization, starting with managers of self, managers of others, manager of managers, function managers, and business managers. So each of those leadership levels within a company has a set of performance standards, and those define how you should be doing the work. So those are helpful for us to look at, especially when we're doing the top grading interview, because we test for exactly those competencies. I say to Eric, the job scorecard really becomes a basis for performance management. If we really nail down all of the competencies, the numbers to be generated, as well as the soft competencies such as team, player, you make all of those measurable, and that becomes the basis for measuring someone's performance. It's when there's a vague job description, there's more of a problem. Eric said, Brad, I think that's a key point because we really do invest a lot of time building the job scorecard, what we call a job profile at CTCA. Brad, I asked, how important is having two interviewers? Eric said, we use tandem top grading interviews at CTCA. We find that's very valuable because it gives the hiring manager, who's one of the interviewers, as well as the person within the talent function, okay, HR is what we ordinarily call that, the opportunity to be at the same table and listen to the candidate as he or she progresses through the interview. That's valuable to us because one person hears something, another person hears something a little different, and afterwards you can work together to confirm and validate what you've heard in the interview. Then I say, someone asked if rolling out top grading scares people. Does it hurt the organization culture? Eric said, for us it's been energizing. I think we're blessed by the fact that we have a very strong culture where all of our employees, we call them stakeholders, if you were to walk up to a stakeholder in the hallway randomly and say, what's CTCA all about? I guarantee you they'd say we're all about serving patients. So we're crystal clear on that. For us, whenever we identify something that gives us an opportunity to improve the way we deliver care and service to patients, that's exciting to us. So when we did all the management training, top grading training at CTCA, we had a lot of very positive feedback and people were energized because they really want to find the best people to, guess what? Come in and help care for patients. Brad says, what criteria do you use to determine if you're going to use top grading in a position? This is kind of a loaded question. Eric said, we started using top grading as an executive assessment tool, and so the criteria that CTA uses today are we're looking at the director level and above positions, which are executive level positions within the organization. However, the exciting news is we're expanding it into nursing ranks, and as Brad discussed, you can use top grading for every level of the organization. Then Brad says, okay, Eric, as you're looking to the future, like 2013 and ahead, what are your thoughts about top grading and what you're doing, or how are you going to keep it going? Eric says, that's actually a great question because the talent team from around CTCA is going to be in Chicago next week. We're going to be having our annual planning process. That's precisely what we're going to talk about, the selection process at CTCA, where we want to take top grading in the organization. So I think we certainly have an opportunity to expand the use of top grading from the executive level down to lower levels in the organization. Brad, we're coming down the home stretch now. Brad asked, how important is top-level support for top grading? Eric said, it's imperative to have CEO support or executive support for the program. HR is crucial, but it would be less effective without CEO support. And I say, thank you, Eric, for your insights and wisdom. And Eric said, thank you, Brad. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Till next time, top grade your team and you will top grade your profits.